The Bible says, touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm. So will God punish a person for commenting on, disagreeing, or even criticizing the opinions or lifestyle of a Christian leader? Let's examine where this command comes from. In Psalm 105, the psalmist calls Israel to give thanks to Yahweh for his deliverance from the nation of Egypt and his protection whilst they were in the wilderness en route to the promised land. In verses 12 to 15, he says, when they, Israel, were but few in number, few indeed, and strangers in it, they wandered from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another. He allowed no one to oppress them. For their sake he rebuked kings. Do not touch my anointed ones, do my prophets no harm. It is obvious that the psalmist is talking about Yahweh's protection of the nation Israel in those trying times in the wilderness, and not about a modern day pastor or prophet. Ancient Israel was God's chosen people, and they as a nation were prophets of Yahweh to the rest of the world. That's why in Exodus 19 verse 6, Yahweh calls them a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The correct comparison is that the church is God's chosen nation and prophets. So this verse should actually apply to the whole church community, not just to Christian leaders. But that aside, will God punish those who disagree with church leaders like he did to Miriam for challenging Moses? Actually, he won't. In the New Testament, many people directly challenge leaders of the church without being punished or rebuked by God. For example, Paul challenged Peter when he refused to eat with the Gentiles without any consequence to him. The New Testament actually encourages submission to one another, just as Jesus submitted to the will of the Father. The goal is to ensure that we help each other to grow under the headship and authority of one person only, Jesus Christ our King. The tactic of scaring Christians into accepting anything and everything that Christian leaders say or do is the oldest trick in the book, and continues to plague the church even today. It is partly fueled by the bad teaching that every part of the Bible has the same authority as every other part. Hence, preachers are able to latch onto single verses or stories in the Old Testament to justify their misbehavior, when Jesus himself doesn't exhibit or encourage that behavior. Remember, if Jesus, the Son of God, was open to criticism and debate, we who follow him have no excuse to be unwilling to take criticism, no matter who we are. Which brings us to the question, if the text of the Bible do not carry equal weight, then how do we responsibly read the Old Testament and the New Testament? But that's a question for another day. Thanks for joining us.